Alright, today we're going to learn about multiplying integers. We're going to learn both the model and the rule. I'm sure that you will find that multiplying integers is much easier than adding or subtracting them. The models are even a little bit easier. The important thing when you're talking about multiplying integers, you need to realize that when you have a multiplication problem, say take 4 times 3, you should also be doing this in the note sheet along with the video. If you need to pause the video in order to catch up with your model, please do that. But the important thing about multiplication is that what this really says is that it wants you to make 4 groups of 3 positives. So I'm going to go ahead and model that for you. Use colors or anything else like that to model it on your paper. So I'm going to go ahead and make my 4 groups. I have 4 groups now, and now I need to put 3 positives in each group. Now my answer to 4 times 3 is how many total positives I have. We all know I have 12 positives in there. So 4 times 3 equals 12. Let's move on to using some negative numbers. Alright, so in this instance, we have 4 times negative 3. Well, how do we know how many groups, and how do we know what goes in what group? Well, you have to understand that the number of groups you have has to always be a positive number. So in this case, our positive number is 4. So again, we're going to have 4 groups. And in each of those groups, we're going to have negative 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. And now I'm going to put 3 negatives in each group. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now my answer is how many total I have here. We all know I have 12, but in this instance, they're not positives, they're negatives. So my answer is negative 12. Not too hard yet, right? Alright, let's look at the next one. In the last scenario, our negative number our positive number was listed first, and our negative number was listed second. In this instance, we have negative 4 times 3. So, like we just went over in the other slide, is that your number of groups has to be your positive number. We can't have a negative number of groups. So here, we're going to have 3 groups. 1, 2, 3. And in each of those groups, I'm going to have 4 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer to negative 4 times 3 is the total number of counters I have here. I have 12 total, and as we know, red is negative 1. So my answer is still negative 12. Again, probably not the most difficult thing you've learned. It's going to take some practice though. Let's look at something else. In this instance, we have negative 4 times negative 3. I told you earlier that we cannot model a negative amount of groups. In this scenario, we have two negative numbers. Therefore, we cannot model this problem. Because you can't have a negative number of groups. So, if you ever have something and they have a -4, and negative times -3, or negative whatever times negative whatever, understand that you are not going to be able to model that problem. You're going to have to do the multiplication using the rule, which we're going to get into in a minute. But first, there's a second way of modeling with multiplication, just like there was with addition. With addition, we learned modeling with the counters and modeling with the number line. Here we're modeling with the number line. This is part 2 on your worksheet using number lines. We're going to use the 2 that are underneath the multiplying column. Don't go to the dividing column. So I'm going to model this simple one for you, and then the other 2 are going to be the ones that you put on your worksheet. Again, this is the same principle. 2 groups of 3. 2 groups of +3. So what I need to do is represent 2 groups of 3 on my computer. I am still starting at 0, and I am going to make 2 groups of 3. So here's 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go 0 to 3. That's one group. And I have to create one more. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. That's a second group, and I'm going to stop at 6. And there's my model. I went to the right because my numbers were positive. Alright, you're going to do this next one on your paper. Now we're going to model 2 times -3. Well, my positive one is the number of groups I have. And I'm going to model 2 groups of -3. So, again, I'm going to start at 0, but this time I'm going to the left because I have a -3 in there. So, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to stop at -3. That's my first group. Now I have to do a second one. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to stop at -6. So now what I have is a model that says 2 times -3 is -6. Because I have 2 groups of the -3, and we stop at -6. Alright, one more model before the rule. Alright, let's do another example. So here we have the negative number listed first. So we know our number of groups has to be the positive number. So we're going to have 3 groups, and we have 3 groups of -2. So I'm just going to start at 0, going to go -2. So I'm going to stop at the -2 first. That's one group. Then I'm going to go another -2 down to -4. 2 groups. And now I have one more group. So 1, 2. Stopping at -6. So here I have modeled 3 groups of -2, which is -2 times 3, or 3 times -2, and we know that equals -6. Alright, now we are going to move into the rule. You need to make sure that you are writing this in your notebook. You may write it on the back of this integers worksheet if you would like, but you need to write it down. The summary space on this worksheet is not big enough, but if you want to try and do the practice problems on the back, you certainly may. Alright, multiplying integers using the rule. This is pretty straightforward. If you have, I'm going to have to stop and attach a second video.